you imagine on a Saturday morning speaking about the brain and mediumship? Well, don't imagine, that's it. That's what we're going to do. How do we start? Right? We need to explain, or we're going to try to explain how mediumship works. So this is something that takes place inside the brain, ultimately, because it happens at the physical level as well. So when you research something like that, we got some interesting results here. Look at that. Oh, Allan Kardec, Medium's book. Oh, that came in the first place. That's interesting. That might tell us something. Paris, 1861. And then we have different things. We have forces of attraction, the handshake, the neurology itself of the brain, what happens through the brain, and some results here. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go down trying to understand these 4 steps of mediumship. First, the attraction. What creates the attraction? Number 2, the handshake, the hello, the handshake. Number 3, what happens in the process itself, in the brain. The brain is doing something. We need to explain that. And number 4, the result, the outcome of this thing. Well, we're going to start right here on the top with Allan Kardec's Medium's book. And if you flip the back of the book, the back cover of the book, he says interesting things here. Since we human beings are an integral part of the interexchange between physical and spirit planes in life, it is best that we understand what's taking place. That's what we're here for, to understand what's taking place. Okay? And he goes further down, he says, this book, which by the way should be called the Encyclopedia of Mediumship, because this is, like you see here, 1861 to this date, we meaning anybody in the planet, we have not noted anything even close to what this book is. This is more than 150 years ago. There is nothing that gets even close to this book. That's very interesting. That was a brave man, we can tell. So we're going to try to understand mediumship. So let's get started with the very first step here, which is the forces of attraction. What attracts the entity that's going to communicate, the communicating spirit and the medium? There's going to be something that brings them together. Certain communicating spirits will prefer certain mediums other than other mediums. So there's some sort of affinity in there. And that's exactly what it is. Allan Kardec explains to us that there's a kind of attraction or repulsion upon the communicating spirit according to the degree of similarity or dissimilarity. So that's what makes them bind together. Just like us here incarnates. You go to a place with a lot of people, let's say a party, you have 100 people, you will be in a certain people in the party rather than others, because for some reason there's affinity. And that's the same thing that happens here. It's just that one is discarnate, the other is not. But that's what causes the whole thing. It's the affinity, the affinity between them. And affinity ties into thought. It is thought that's going to create the bond. Okay? Depending on your thought, your approaching spirit might not be very good. So that's why it is very important for the medium to promote very high standards in its own morals. So the communicating spirits are not bad spirits, are not lower spirits, they are high spirits. Anyway, in this book, we could call like roadmap or something like that. It's not translated into English yet, but it's by Spirit Emmanuel. And he tells us this: we must comprehend that our thoughts are forces, images, things, and creations. There are 4 things at the same time. Okay, all of this, which are visible and tangible to the spirit world. That means every time I think of something, for the spirits, it's an image. It's matter. Thought is matter in the spiritual world. It is, for example, when I think of something today, you don't know what I'm thinking. In the spirit world, it would be equivalent. Let's say, for example, that I'm thinking right now that I'm at the beach. Okay, you don't know that I'm thinking that. It would be if I could draw myself on the beach, do a little sketch, a little drawing, and show to you. And that's my thought. Okay, this is what happened in the spirit world. Our thoughts are captured because they form images. That's what we call in Spiritist language thought form. When we think, we create this thought form, which is matter in the spirit world. So they know what I'm thinking. I can't hide from it. I can tell you that I'm thinking about A and I'm really thinking about B, but I can't do that. I can't fool the spirits in the spirit world. Further down he says, we attract people and resources. It's not only people, it's resources. Resources means anything that's going to make it happen. Okay? We attract people and resources according to the nature of our ideas, aspirations, goals, and so. Why do we attract that? Because I lift my image of my thought, the sketch of what I'm thinking. That's my thought form. When I think of something, I lift it. So everyone in the spirit world can see what I'm thinking. If they like it, they will approach. If they don't like it, they'll go somewhere else. So I'm revealing myself by what I think. And so that was what we call the forces of attraction, what causes these two spirits to get together. Number two, the handshake. Once the spirits approach me, there's going to be a handshake, like a hello, how are you? Let's get started. This is exactly what it is. That's why I call it handshake. And in the spirits, in the medium's book, Kardec, not Kardec, but the spirits tell Kardec, and he puts this phrase, the perispirit is the principle of all spirit manifestations. And we know that because the manifestation is, one is at the spirit world, and we are here in the physical world. The common point between them is the perispirit. So this talk, this handshake happens at the perispiritual level. It can't be physical because the communicating spirit is not incarnate. So it happens at the perispirit level, which makes, number one, the perispirit a very interesting topic. Number two, mandatory. A mandatory study, a deep study of perispirit will help us understand mediumship. Obviously, it's not our idea here today. So we're just going to throw a few things about the perispirit that will help us understand very superficially the whole thing. In this book by Mr. Zimmerman, it's a Brazilian book, Brazilian author, incarnate. This is what it says. The perispirit, by the way, he is probably the most knowledgeable person incarnate right now on earth about perispirit. He has been studying perispirit for so many years, and he's one of these, top guys in the area. So the perispiritual expansibility, it's at the base of all processes. What is that? The perispirit has several different features and characteristics. One of them, the only one we're going to talk about today, is called expansibility. Expansibility means as if the perispirit, as if the body could grow and shrink. Of course, that's not the case. What happens is the perispirit grows and shrink. Now, when we think, when I tell you grow and shrink, we understand this visually, something that enlarges and decreases in size. So you're using the sight to relate to this. But that's not what really is, because the perispirit doesn't get fat and thin. That's not what it is. It doesn't have to go on a diet to come back. Think about this as smell. Okay? If I bring right now a bag of dead fish, can you tell I have a bag of dead fish? Yeah, but you don't see it because the bag is closed. That's expansibility. Think about smell. Don't think about sight, because you're going to have the wrong idea. You're going to be, I'm not going to say wrong idea. It's just more difficult to grasp the meaning. Think about smell. So that's this ability of the perispirit to expand itself. When my perispirit expands and somebody else's or communicating spirit, perispirit expands as well, we can touch. And then we will create a transfer. We're going to transfer energy right there. And this is what it says then. This propitiates the phenomena of transcommunications, this ability of perispirits to touch, if you will, perispirits. So studying perispirit is critical. In the book, posthumous work, which is published after Kardec's death, this is a compilation of things that he wrote while he was living. Okay, just a group of people put it together, all the notes he left, and published the book. That's not him after life as a spirit, no. The perispirit is not confined to the limits of the physical body, such a box. It's the smell thing that I said, okay? It is expandable due to its fluidic nature. It radiates and forms around the body a type of atmosphere that thought and will can expand more or less. So what makes it grow and shrink? Thought and will. It's my thought. When I think hard, I grow. Okay? Persistency as well. When I'm persistent on my thought, I grow, I get fat. My perispirit gets fat. It's easier to understand, right? Everybody's on a diet thing, so. But no, seriously, we need to understand the perispirit in details if you want to really go into this matter further down. Now, look at this. He calls something fluidic atmosphere. That's an interesting word. You see, fluidic atmosphere is the aura. The word aura, this is the late 1800s, where the church is still very strong, very opposing to anything new, and so on and so on. So we know by history. Now, the word aura was used by the Catholics. When you see the sketch or a representation of a saint, for example, they usually have the person in a little circle here, illuminated circle. That is called aura. That circle means this person that we're sketching here is a saint. If you don't have the little thing on the top, it's not. It's just a person. That's how they differentiated, and they called this aura. And because Kardec wanted to walk away from anything Catholic, because he really wanted to make sure we understood the new message altogether, he did not use the word aura himself. But the word is still very strong in our society. So spirits like Emmanuel, Andre Luiz, they still use the word aura. But Kardec himself, he avoided that. So what is the aura? Aura is the fluidic atmosphere created by the expansion of the perispirit. The perispirit grows, it creates, irradiates this aura. The aura we can understand easily. We can relate to this easier if we understand this as a business card in the spirit world. When I give you my business card here, physical world, I can write on my business card, PhD NASA engineer, and I give it to you and you, wow, oh, that guy is something. And I can be fooling you because I'm not. Okay? And you're going to look at that and say, wow, this guy's good. Now, in the spirit world, I can't do that because my thought produces my thought form, and here's who I am, period. I can fool you here, not in the spirit world. Okay? So I am who I'm not in the spirit world. I am who I am, not who I say I am. That's different. Okay. So the aura is what's gonna allow perispirits to approach and handshake. We're talking about the handshake here. So the role of the aura, as Andre Luiz in the book Evolution in Two Worlds tells us, through our aura, this fluidic atmosphere, we are seen and examined by superior intelligences. So we are seen. I'm demonstrating who I am. No matter how much I try to hide, I can't hide. Perceived and recognized by kindred spirits. So they perceive me by that. This is because we invariably exteriorize the reflex of ourselves. That's who I am in the spirit world. By thought-to-thought contact. My thought, it's what makes it happen. Okay? When I think, I lift my thought form. With no need for words of affection and fundamental repulsions. Meaning, I don't have to tell the spirit world who I am. They'll see by what I think. Period. It's kind of that simple. Okay? Alright, so that was the handshake. So let's see what happens. You see, the thing is coming down. Right? The spirit, the approaching spirit, the communicating spirit was somewhere. Then I thought something. He approached me. My pure spirit, my fluidic atmosphere, allow him to feel affinity with me. So now we handshake. So the thing is coming down. Now it's going to go into the brain because ultimately the body is going to process this. And the body is regulated by the brain at the biological level. So we need to understand what happens at the brain, what takes place in the brain once the process started. So coming back to that phrase again, the perispirit is a principle of all spirit manifestations. The perispirit captures the approaching spirit, the communicating spirit, and it's going to throw this down to the body. Some part of the body has to receive this information. Some part of the body has to be the antenna receiving the information. The antenna is called pineal gland. Okay? A pineal gland is responsible for all psychic and mediumistic phenomena. Every one of us has a pineal gland. It's different for everyone. There are no two people with the same pineal gland. Things that we need to understand is the pineal gland is a little thing down here in the middle of the brain, in the middle of the head. Okay, not in the brain, in the middle of the head. If you slice the pineal gland, what we see inside is a bunch of little grains, okay, little crystals. They're crystals. These crystals are made of a substance called apatite. Apatite is used in electronics. It is used in antennas and communication in general. What the apatite does is repel waves. So let's say, for example, if this thing here is a crystal of apatite, electromagnetic waves are coming down, they come here, they hit it, and they are repelled. That's what the pineal gland does. The pineal gland has millions of these crystals. So what happens is, when the electromagnetic wave comes in, it hits the first crystal, it repels. Then it goes to the next one, it repels, and it repels, and it keeps doing like this. Now, while the process is taking place, the information, the wave, is in there. It's in there, it's still in there, it's circulating, it's just repelling here and there. And there's a time frame, there's a time that for the wave to go away. While this is taking place, I am available, if I can, we're going to explain how, but my brain should be available to pick up the wave and extract information out of it while the process is happening. Now think about this. I put 6 antennas here, which would be equivalent to a person with 6 crystals in the pineal gland. Now, if this person had, let's say, 10,000 grains, 10,000 crystals, that wave would be around for much, much, much longer, right? Meaning the body would have a much better opportunity to capture this information and process it somehow, do something with it. That's the difference between mediums and not mediums, or to go with Kardec's words, we are all mediums, very ostensive mediums and not. The real mediums, as we call it in popular language, the real mediums, they have millions and millions and millions of crystals. So they have, it is very easy for them to grasp the information within the wave. Okay? All right, so the concentration of the apatite crystals is what's going to define more or less ability to capture the information. And that has everything to do with mediumship, because you know, the good mediums, the most strong mediums, they will have more crystals. Now, what happens when the pineal gland captures this? Okay, the pineal gland, the name itself, gland has to do with the metabolism of the body. It has this name because of tradition. Okay, in 1640, René Descartes said, this is where soul and body get together, that's where they meet. And it was called pineal gland because at, 400 years ago, the only thing we knew about it was it has a particular function within the biological body. We didn't know anything about anything else. So it has the name gland, and the name just kept going through the years. And that's what we still call that way. Now, when the pineal gland receives this, one of the two things could happen. It could go to the hypothalamus, which is this little thing here, right underneath the encephalus, or it could go to the cortex. We're going to explain why and how it happens. If you go to the hypothalamus, you see, the pineal gland, in 1998, science found out that the pineal gland was a transducer. It would translate electromagnetic waves into neurochemical signals in the body. So, once that was captured, now it's neurochemical. Now it's chemical in a biological body, once it's been translated. So, if this wave gets translated and it's thrown in the body, in the circulation, it's going to be part of the metabolism. And this is going to generate, it could generate clinical symptoms, because it could be a very strong influence, but it goes into the biology of the body. So, when it goes to the cortex, it will generate what we call mediumship. Okay, let's go further down, try to understand why. The hypothalamus is responsible for 3 major areas these here: behavior, hormones, and the autonomic nervous system. So, for example, at times, let's say we're all here together, everybody's talking and everything is nice and neat, and then suddenly I'm going to say like this, wow, it's so cold here. And you all look to me and say, are you okay? And I feel cold, I really feel cold for, let's say, 10 minutes, and then it goes away, all right? So there's not really a biological explanation why that took place. It could be something like this. The autonomic nervous system felt a difference in temperature, which, if I felt that difference in temperature, something happened within the biological body, but it wasn't anything necessarily biological. It could have been an influence from electromagnetic waves, and I just felt it. And at times you're going to see people having different, behavioral changes, and it goes back to normal then. It's something that happens and it goes back to normal. Hormone disorders. So it could be one of these things if it goes to the hypothalamus. Now, if the wave gets translated and it goes to the cortex, that's going to generate mediumship, because the cortex is the area of interpretation. So it's sensorial. You would generate one of these things, for example, psychography, psychophony, and so. And that's Robert's going to talk about a little bit more. Now, when does it go here? When does it go here? That's an interesting thing. So what we're going to take one case to study, because it's all the same. So we're going to take a case where the medium sees things. Okay, so the medium says, oh, I'm seeing this thing. And everybody in the same room says, I don't see anything. How is that possible? Right? So we're going to try to explain that. In a mediumship meeting, for example, the medium can say, I saw this and this and this. And everybody else say, I don't see anything. All right? Okay, so let's try to understand how vision works. So this is a slice of the brain right here. Okay, here are the eyes. The eyes are looking towards that way. Let's put the picture on the corner so we can relate to it. When we look at something, when I look at the vase here, for example, okay, there's an optical phenomenon, which is the light coming into my eye, my retina. My retina detects that, and the retina is a little, in simple words, okay, it's a ball like this that translates the signal from optical into electrical. So on this side of the retina, it's optics. On the other side of the retina, it's electronics. It's signal. It doesn't make sense anymore. It's not an image anymore. It's just electronics. And that's thrown into the optical nerves, which is this thing over here. Okay, it's like a, think about like a wire. It's a wire. This is wired into the brain. It's wired really into the brain in an area called thalamus. The thalamus receives wires from the ears, from the skin, the nervous system, from different places. And it's a big concentrator of wires, if you will, in simple words. So you will receive this signal, and it has to know that it came from the eye. Okay, and it knows because it's an automated process. And you know, this thing here came from the eye. If it came from the eye, I need to send this to the area of the brain that knows how to interpret things that comes from the eye, because it's image related. Otherwise, for example, I would look at something and the thalamus would send to the area that interprets sound. It wouldn't make any sense. That doesn't happen because it's all automated. So the thalamus gets this and it has to rewire this. It's like this. Oh, I got it. Okay, so let me plug into the area of the brain that's going to interpret this. It's not a plug-in physical, okay? It's like I get my cable here as close as I can to the cable that's going to go to the brain, but I don't touch it. It's something like this here. The actual transmission between this cable coming from the thalamus and this going to the cortex is done by neurochemical agents. If the person has some damage or something doesn't happen right at the generation of the chemicals that will cross the river, literally, okay, the person can't see, although the eye is perfect, because the signal doesn't make it all the way to the brain. I don't know if you're getting the idea, okay? So it's like this. It's called synapse. So this is delivered to the other side of the river where the neurons are, and the neurons are going to go to the cortex. Now, the cortex is an area of the brain that interprets signal. We have four cortexes, four major cortexes. These are the ones, we're not going to go into detail, that's not the point. In our particular case, this needs to be sent to the area that interprets images. It's going to recognize what the vase is, okay? And so this is sent to this area, the occipital lobe. And this thing gets the information. And if this is the brain, these are cells, right? It's the brain. These are cells. It's a physical, I can put my hand on it. It's something physical. Now, how can this interpret and come back and say, oh, I know what this is. It's a vase. You've seen this before. How can cells do that? They can't, right? They need to rely on a certain intelligence. So this is passed along to the intelligent principle, also known as spirit, which does interpretation, comes back and say, you've seen this before, this thing is called a vase. And then the brain takes it from there. Now, if you give me, let's say, a new animal, you bring here a new animal that I have never seen before, nothing even close to that, and you ask me, what is this? What happens? My vision sees, it translates into the brain, thalamus, cortex, and the cortex goes to up to the perispirit, intelligent principle, and it comes back and says, I don't know, this is not registered. It's not on the database. And then I have to put a new entry in the database. You have to tell me, oh, this animal here is called ABC. And then I'm going to add a new item to my database. Next time I see the same animal, I'm able to say, this is ABC, I've seen it before. This is how the brain works. Okay, so the lobe cannot do the interpretation. It has to be performed at a higher level. Okay? Now, so let's try to summarize all of this. These first two parts here, capturing the information, this is just the acquisition of the information. Nothing is done there. The second part, this thing here, is the control. What's going to happen once I got that? The brain is going to send to the cortex, and the cortex is responsible for interpreting that signal. Now, what if there's a way to get the information, okay, and instead of going through this and this, bypass these two parts here and go straight into my cortex? What if I can do that? Or what if somebody can do this? Hijack my brain. Hack in. A hacker that comes in with his wire and plugs into my cortex. What happens? What would happen is I would interpret something that I didn't see. Right? Is that possible? Yeah, that's what mediumship is. Now, how does the hacker hack in? Right? How does he get his cable and sticks into my cortex? Well, pineal gland. Remember, pineal gland goes hypothalamus or cortex. When it goes to the cortex, it generates mediumship. Why? Here's the explanation. So the cortex gets that pre-interpreted. You see how powerful this thing is. So, coming back, right? Thought, handshake, pineal gland, cortex. Okay, this is what you are seeing. So, the medium says, oh, I'm seeing this and this and this. And you all look. You look with your eyes and you don't see the same thing. Of course. Because for him, it did not come from the eye. If what he's seeing had come from the eye, you would see the same thing. You don't. Okay? I don't know if it's clear. That's mediumship. Okay? All right, so this is what we just saw. So let's go through some final ideas here. The biological results of mediumship. Now, mediumship, when the pineal gland captures whatever it captures, okay, part of it's going to go to the cortex, and part always goes to the biological part, the organic part, always. Even if it's a true, full-blown mediumship, part of it affects the body. And we can see that very easily. Those are experiences that today they're trivial. We can do them easily. Before the medium goes on trance, for example, you take his vital signs, basic signs, blood pressure, just different things, heartbeat, and you write that down on a chart, okay? While he's in trance, the same physical body, while he's in trance, you measure the same thing. When you look at the two charts, they're completely different. If you take these two charts to a doctor that doesn't know anything, doesn't have the history on this, and take, doctor, can you look at these two charts? What can you tell me? He would probably say, wow, this looks like a 50-year-old man. This is like an 18-year-old guy, because it's so different. He couldn't even relate that they came from the same physical body, the same biological organism. He couldn't tell that. What do we conclude from this? Biology is controlled by something else. Biology doesn't control. It is controlled. It comes from the intelligent principle. Coming back to Emmanuel, roadmap. Live energy, thoughts displace, meaning thoughts are live energy. Not for us, maybe, but for the spirit world. It's my sketch. Here it is, my thought form. They displace around us subtle forces. When I displace, when I raise my thought form, I started forming this fluidic atmosphere, okay? So I build landscapes and forms and create magnetic centers or waves. It's like I became an antenna right there, okay? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm at the beach, for example. That's my thought right now. So this is my antenna. Everybody that likes the idea will come to me because I will attract them, okay? So I become a magnetic center. I generate these waves. We emit with the interventions of someone else's interventions, meaning not only I send to them, but I'm open to receive the same type. So when I think of revenge, here goes my thought form. I'm in revenge mode. Who else out there is in the same mode? Then 1,000,000 people come in. 1,000,000 spirits will come in. Okay, that's why morality in mediumship is so important. We're gonna hear this throughout the day today. Okay, so trying to summarize everything. What happens? Thought. Thought is the key to everything. I'm thinking of something. When I think, I generate my fluidic atmosphere. That's my aura, my business card, my thought form. This aura will attract other people. We touch paraspirits, or our paraspirits exchange energies. It's a better way of saying. We'll exchange energies. The pineal gland senses that and captures that and brings it in to the physical body, into the brain. The brain will process according to one of those two things, either hypothalamus or cortex for mediumship, and then will generate some sort of result. Now when you look at this, where does it all start? Here. So it is absolutely important for the medium to have good thoughts, good moral standards, because if it doesn't, he's gonna pay a high price. Thank you very much, and have a good day.